Hello, Aries. Thank you very much for tuning in to this week's read. For the main part of the read, I'm using the Gendron Tarot by Michelle Gendron. Gendron, yeah. It's Melanie, isn't it? Melanie Gendron. Website is usgamesinc.com. I believe it's still an active website, but this deck is from 1997. The print, anyway, is. Supportive Oracle cards, Chakra Wisdom Oracle cards by Tori Hartman, illustrated by Gretchen Raish Baskin. Websites on the back here, watkinspublishing.co.uk or watkinspublishing.com. Feel free to freeze frame. Oh, there's torihartman.com too. I forgot about that one. Feel free to check those out if you want to. Whew. Aries. All right. Ooh. But okay. You got the World card. They use the universe here, but I love this card. I think it's really pretty. Especially when there seems to be like a butterfly or an animal in the background. I'm not even sure what that's supposed to be, but this up here, something like there's a little bit of mystery of the new cycle coming in. I do feel like you're changing direction, or no? I saw this card and I'm like, oh, if there's one sign that this is really going to tick off, it's going to be Aries. Trickery, which trickery easily slips into lies. Aries is, that's not going to match. That's not going to work. Where is the trickery? Okay, where is the trickery? Because something, it's already bothering me because I'm like, oh, that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly for Aries. Like, not that it should, obviously. Six of Swords and the Devil card. You may let somebody think things are okay, but that's never going to be okay with Aries. You don't deal with trickery like, that's not something you're going to be okay with. I almost feel like even to Aries, it's kind of like, why would anybody be okay with that? I feel like that would be Aries' standpoint on that. Like, well, I'm not okay with it, but why would anybody be okay with that? You may let somebody think that things are okay, thinking, well, obviously I wouldn't be. Why would anybody be okay with that? But this is also moving you into a whole new phase. I don't think you're going to argue with somebody. I feel like I've noticed who they are. I see who they are. And it's very much, I really do think it's a mature Aries energy. I'm not here to waste my time. So you call things out, especially the mature Aries energy. When it gets more mature, it's kind of like, I call things out to create change, to improve things to my benefit. I don't call things out to give other people advantage over me. That's for one thing. We're not doing that. But I'm also not going to waste my time. If that's who they are, and it's not going to change the outcome, I'm not going to bother with them. I don't have the time for it. I don't want to have the time for it. I got better things to do. I want to enjoy life, and dealing with that is not enjoying life. Because it's kind of like when it's more, when the Aries energy is more young, it feels like if I just call it out, people will learn not to mess with me. And when we get more mature, I have some of that energy in my chart, so it's kind of like when you get more mature, you're like, some people just don't learn. And it's just aggravating to deal with them, so why bother? The way you deal with it is you kind of like, I have to find a way to work around them or work them away. And with this card coming in, the Eight of Cups and the Universe, you're gonna be changing your connection with this person. I'm thinking it's a person for most of you. Could be a job where I've experienced this. When you realize the job is just failing you and the people a part of it are just a part of a failing system, you're just kind of like, well, I'm not going to argue about it anymore, but I'm going to make choices to get me out of this situation, and I'm going to go somewhere else. And it's kind of like, you know what, I need to put this more to my advantage. Strategic. Aries can be very strategic, especially when you think you're dealing with a dishonorable person or situation. It's kind of like, all right, this is dishonorable. I have to be strategic here. I have to be smart. I can't give them information that they're going to be able to use to get in my way. I can't let them stop me from finding a better solution. So you may not tell them certain things, and you're like, and I don't think I have to, because it's the rules of the game. Kind of like, I need to get out of this, and I need to do what I need to do. Doesn't mean you like it, but it's kind of like, listen, if this is how the game is played, I can't tell them things they're going to use against me. You can't tell your job, well, I think I'm going to leave, but because they're gonna mess with you, or you're gonna feel like it's gonna put me at some disadvantage, or they might decide before I decide that they're gonna get rid of me, they're gonna let me go, kind of like, you're not gonna be here anyway, so we're not gonna invest any more time in you. Go. Then I end up 3 months without a job. I can't do that. Especially where I have had personally a few jobs where once they find out somebody's leaving, you're gone that day, depending on what type of job it is. So you might be like, well, I can't tell them that because I can't go without a paycheck. So I'm going to have to keep it to myself and play this smart for myself, so for my own security and longevity. The devil card especially, it's kind of like, it doesn't mean you like it, but it's kind of like the rules are the rules, and I have to survive, and I have to do what's best for me and my family. And it's kind of like, because I feel like you don't like it. But it's ironic that the healing card is coming in, the Four of Swords, with the grief card. What you have to do to get out of this situation, you do not like. This is not your way of doing things, but it's kind of like what I have to deal with. I'm getting this quote. I'm trying to remember exactly how it's said. You can't win an honorable fight with dishonorable people. Which means if you play by your honor rules, they'll probably you'll get those rules used against you, that's why the grief is there, because it's kind of like, that sucks. That just sucks. I don't know. Take that where you want to take it. It's not a fun feeling, but I do feel like the more committed you are to just preserving your own needs, because you're moving out of this situation, but it's the transition out of it that you got to be very careful with. I see you ending up in a much more stable, much more secure, long-term situation that's a lot more respectful to your needs. You're going into a new situation after this that's going to be a lot more stable and a lot more honest, and that's what you're looking for. But to get out of this one, I feel like the way I have to play the game to preserve what I need to preserve is, I'm not a happy camper about it. But I also get like I'm taking a lot of power away from somebody else, because they don't realize that I can do this. And I feel that from your energy. Like, they don't realize I can do that. I hate doing that. I don't like doing that, but I can do it. And if I have to do it, I'll do what's best for me. I know the whole you can't win an honorable fight with dishonorable people is not the most enjoyable thing to hear, but it's kind of like if you're working with liars and cheats, but the more honest you are, the more you tell them, the more they're just going to lie and cheat their way into a position that works for them. It's very much a situational morality thing. I hate that. When I figured it out, or when somebody told me about it and I really figured out what that meant, it did bother me personally, because I realized when people do that on a situational morality, they could have a home life where they do everything by the book, they're very honest, they're very respectful to people. But when they go to work, because that's usually where you see it, in my opinion, they'll lie, steal, and cheat just to get ahead, and they feel like, well, it's dog eat dog, it's fair, I can do that here, it doesn't matter. Like, situational morality is something that really corrupts a person's soul. It really does a lot of emotional damage that people don't realize. It really does bleed into other areas of life. You can't just keep it in one area, even though people will believe they can. It will taint and degrade other places in life. So I feel like Aries is more on point with that usually. That you can't really live life that way and expect it not to bleed into other areas. There's a lot of situational morality going on here, but it's a double-edged sword, because it's kind of like when you're dealing with liars, cheats, and stealing. To get out of a situation, I personally understand it, because it's not like you're going to live that way permanently. And it's kind of like, well, your back's against the wall and you have to have a paycheck at the end of the day, so you got to do what you got to do until you can go on to something better. But when you sit and marinate in it and stay in it and you live your life that way, that's when it really starts corrupting and damaging your spiritual center, in my opinion. And I feel like Aries you're not cool with it. So whatever this is, for some of you, maybe you've had to live that way for a while, and you're just looking like you're finally getting to the point where you're like, this isn't going to work. This is just not going to work for me anymore. I'm very unhappy. I need to go somewhere else. So this might be maybe this is your heads up, like time to go, time to get into a situation that's more respectful, more honorable, where you don't have to do that. Maybe it's just a temporary situation. You just have to do this to get out of here. But I'm feeling like we're ending that situation, and we're not going to play that way anymore. It's really shocking when you see an Aries that has to play that way, because they don't usually thrive with it as well. Situational morality doesn't usually work for Aries. Doesn't usually. And usually they become very unhappy because that's not the way they like to live life. But I also see by moving on from it, the situation you're leaving will never change, is what I'm getting with the quest and the Page of Swords. It's Princess but Page, same thing. I'm just getting, it's a weak situation anyway, morality wise. So moving on from it is maybe your best idea. I wonder if this is mostly about that, kind of like moving on from that energy, because there's nothing there that's really worth it anymore. There's a lot of game playing. Like when I see this card, the Five of Swords, it's kind of like it tries to seem like it's better than it is, but you know what it really is right now. It's time to let this go. It's time to let this go. There's a weird gameplay here too. Some people, like, I feel like they seem good to your face, but they're really not. This is the current situation you're leaving. It feels like even allies are not allies. People have a lot of smoke and mirrors, and it's kind of like maybe sometimes you allow people to stay outside your sight. Kind of like, I don't want to look too close to that because chances are they're not the greatest either, but I don't need to see that. I don't know why we're saying that, other than they're just acknowledging that. Because you might have like made it more livable for you by just not getting too close to people, so you really didn't see what they really were. Because you're like, nah, I don't need to know. Like, it's bad enough. I don't need to see that too. So this is about the transition out, right? And I feel like you're going into something better. I feel like they're saying it's the time to do it. For some of you, I feel like maybe you're questioning if it's really worth it. Kind of like, I leave this. It's kind of like the devil I know versus the devil I don't. If I leave this crappy situation, am I just going to find another one? I see you going into a much better situation because I feel like you're fed up with this and the way things are done. And I feel like the way you're going to communicate in the next situation, you've just had it. You can't do this anymore. Whatever the situation is, you're like, no, I can't be a part of a situation like this anymore. So if I go into the next situation being a little bit bold, a little bit abrasive, people are going to know that right off the bat. And then if they don't like me, I don't want them to like me, if that's a problem. But if they do like me, they're going to like me because I'm honest and they know they can trust me. And that's what I'm looking for. Sometimes that does seem to work for Aries. What else? Can we give something else about the situation coming in? Because I almost feel like they're saying you are going into something better. Give yourself a chance to experience it. The Star card, and then the Five of Pentacles. If this is a work situation, you're going to keep yourself on the outside. I'm feeling like I don't want to make close friends with anybody. I'm going to keep it very cold. It's about the work. I show up to do this work. I show up for the paycheck. Y'all can just stay over there. I don't know if you're good people. I don't want to know if you're good people because a lot of times y'all aren't. So I'm just going to stay away from it. And I feel like you're good. I don't see there's a problem with that, but I feel like I'm putting up a barrier. Kind of like the work is for work, home, personal life, I'll deal with people there. That's where I'm going to keep my enjoyment. I'm not going to let that, if this is a work situation. I feel like I'm categorizing things. I'm setting up rules and boundaries, so I'm not letting this happen again. For some of you, and if there's a you know if this is you or not, if it's a romance thing or relationship like that, maybe it doesn't have to be romance, but a relationship thing where you're kind of like, I have to get out of this group of people, I'm going to go into a new group. You're going to set very strict guidelines about what you will and won't allow, and you're going to call things out probably more brutally than you normally would, because you want people to get the correct impression of like, I don't want BS. If you're a BS person, BS your way out of here. Just go away. Go away. I don't want you to think we're going to get along. I want you to not like me, because then I won't have to deal with you. Because I feel like you're setting it up right at the beginning. Like, especially if it's a relationship thing, you're leaving a romantic relationship. The next one, I do feel like you're a little bit brash, but you're going to find somebody who's also a little bit brash, and it's going to link up. It's going to be fine. Like, brash versus abusive, like, there's a difference. I feel like Aries knows that. Like, just being very bold and, like, for example, like a dinner thing, like somebody makes a dinner and you're like, well, I don't really like this. I don't really like turnips, but the way you made them was acceptable. You'd be honest. Like that, to me, that's kind of brash, kind of like saying, I really don't care for turnips, but the way you made them is acceptable. You would be setting the standard, like, you know what, I'm not going to be excited about eating turnips, but if that's how you're going to make them and you decide you have to have them once in a while, that's suitable. I will eat them. I won't like them, but I will eat them. Versus, just saying, I don't know what happens when you get in the kitchen, but it's a complete monster mash. It's just disgusting. Like, that would be abusive. I don't see you doing that. I just see you saying, I don't really like turnips, but the way you made them, it was acceptable. To me, that's honesty. To me, that's brash. Just kind of like, it's right there. It's just the truth. I'm just telling you the truth about how I feel about it, versus like, beating somebody to death. Like, I don't know what happens when you go in the kitchen, but it's a complete mess every time. That would be abusive. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference, in my opinion. You let me know in the comments if that makes sense, or if you feel like you have an example and you want to put it in there, go ahead, put it in there. Please do. But they're saying the next opportunity. But the thing is, the next opportunity, you seem to relate to it that way, but it also comes back the same way. So, example, maybe you make a steak dinner and you like it, well done. We're just going to say for argument's sake. The other person is going to tell you, I understand that this works for you, and for a well done steak, it's acceptable, but I hate well done steaks usually. But the way you did it, it's acceptable, it's fine. I don't really want it. If you want it, eat it. That's fine for you, but I don't like it. So they're going to be just as honest with you. The same. So like whatever tone you are towards that energy, it's going to be the same way back to you. So decide how, like, just say it to them like you want it said to you, because you're going to get it back the same exact way. You know what I mean? The feeling, anyway. Anything else? All right. I'm going to shut this down here. I hope that helps. Thank you for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below with the same email. Thank you again for watching, and have a great day.